Hello, my name is James, and this is the Sober James channel. This is a live stream, and we have a special treat. I'm here with my friend Gina. Hello, Gina. Long story short, Gina is a member of my online recovery community, and she would like to tell her story tonight. So, without further ado, I'll just let you go ahead, okay, Gina?
So anyway, I'm Gina, alcoholic addict. I was born in Cleveland to an alcoholic parents. My mother died by the time I was 5. My dad died, or my dad went to prison shortly after. My mother was 35 when she passed away. She died of cirrhosis of the liver. I was born with a cleft lip and palate as a direct result of her drinking. Shortly after, I went to go live with my aunt and cousins. I was a very angry child, very spoiled. Grade school was brutal because of my birth defects. I got to middle school and got boy crazy. Got my first abusive relationship at 12. Was introduced to, the old classics, Mad Dog 2020 and Old English 8 Ball and Mad Weed, and I was on a roll. I was on a roll for years. I got pregnant at 19 from another abusive relationship. My son was in and out of custody, in and out of my care. I went to prison, went to jail. I went to the big house. I remember going to prison. I never thought I'd be there, and here I was at 26 years old going to prison. It was horrible. I used people, I lied to people, I stole from people I loved. I was a horrible friend. I was a horrible mom. I did bad things. I got pregnant in my addiction twice. Both children I did place for adoption. One of them did go through the custody of the state there for a while. Let's see. I think the last couple years, my son, who is 19 years old right now, he has a problem. A couple years ago, he went to rehab on a court order, so I decided to be a martyr, and I was going to go too. Didn't work out very well because I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Got sober a couple years ago, about 2-3 years ago. Oh, 3 years ago now. Tried it, and I met this guy in an AA meeting, and this has been a recurring theme in my life. I meet this really great guy, and 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, he's out somewhere, and I'm pregnant. I found out I was pregnant with Isaac at the ER, and immediately I called the original rehab that I was in. And I said, listen, I got to come in. And they accepted me, and it was amazing to me after all these things that I did. And I'm sorry if I'm jumping back and forth, but I sold myself. I sold other women. I just angry for so long and carried so much guilt and so much PTSD. And the men that I associated with were just terrible for me. I mean, there's a couple of those men that are in jail for life and horrible things. And I've escaped death a few times, more than once. Thank God nothing health-wise has ever happened to me. I did have a heart attack at 30 or 32. The fact that I can even say these things and laugh is a miracle in itself. So I'm pregnant with Isaac. Shane's 19. And I go to the Lorraine rehab, and somebody had said to me, how far are you willing to go for your sobriety? I said, what do you mean? Well, there's a place down in Toledo for pregnant women. And I remember looking on the weather map in Lorain County, and Toledo wasn't even on the weather map. And at first I was like, you're crazy. I'm not having a baby. I don't know anybody. There's so many people up here that I love and care about. Long story short, I had a good long talk with God that night. Went to my counselor, and I was on my way to Toledo 2 days later. Toledo again, I knew nothing. There was about 13 other pregnant females. I was the least pregnant at 2 months, and there was babies coming all the time. As you can imagine, 13 pregnant women was just a blast. And it was. I still talk to some of them girls. I love them. They're my sober sisters, but it took a lot to get here. And today I get to be Isaac's mom. I can say today that Shane wasn't enough for me to get sober. The children that I placed for adoption were not enough for me to get sober. I had to want it. I had to need it. And I do want it every day. It's not just a lifestyle, it's my life. The bonds that I formed here in Toledo are irreplaceable. My sober support system is phenomenal. The things that I've learned about myself and the work that I've done is just incredible. And you hear it all the time in meetings, I never thought I'd be here. I'm 38 years old, and I have had my own apartment at 38. I've been in my apartment for 1 year. I'm 38 years old, and I don't know how to drive because I was too afraid of getting shit-faced and driving. So I never did. I never learned. My kids, I'm a living example. If my kids ever want to knock on my door at any time, I'll be able to open it with a smile on my face and not be ashamed of what's inside. Prison sucks. Don't go to prison. It's a terrible experience. I spent a month and a half there, and it was the worst time of my whole life. I've been a victim of sexual assault since I was from a child. There's so much trauma, like I said, with abusive relationships that I put myself in looking for completion. The people that I hung out with, it's a miracle that I'm even walking to talk today because of the situations that I put myself in through my addiction. Like I said, today, every day, I have to do something every day for my recovery. And even my little baby who I love and all you guys have come to know, at the end of the day, I can't do it for him either. I have to do it for me. But, and I hope there's a couple people watching that. I know this isn't a huge, long story. I told James I'd take up an hour, but there's really nothing, not a whole lot. I don't want to go into the gory stories, but I've done everything. I've done everything that an addict would do. Like I said, I remember walking on a highway mile for 4 miles to get the littlest drink or the littlest hit or the littlest joint. And these were out in country roads when I lived out in Oberlin that had no street lights. I smelled cow. And I would leave at 2:00 in the morning and walk this highway. And I couldn't imagine. And I would go to work the next day. I would do just insane, getting high in the bathroom. I'm sure so many people out there are like, yep, been there, done that. I did it all. And I thought I was the only one. I was one of those people, well, if your mom died and if you had this happen and you had that happen, it's not an excuse. That's one of the biggest lessons I learned in recovery is no matter the hand that you're dealt, it's not an excuse. It's really not. You might be predispositioned, as a lot of us are. Your circumstances might force it to you, but fight it with all you got. And I don't know, that's 18 minutes. I'm sorry, James, that's all I got. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for all you could do for everybody. Your podcast and your live streams have really gotten me through this time in the house, and I appreciate it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You're doing great, Gina. If I could just ask, did you say you're on 2 years sober?
I had 2 years on July 19th.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
24 months. How would you say you handle times like this, isolation, and for all the women out there?
Get on YouTube. There's no excuse. There's Zoom meetings. There's phone numbers. There's Facebook groups. There's so many. We're in really lucky times. Had this happened 30 years ago, there wouldn't be as nearly as much connection as there is. I found a really good fellowship, especially like I said with Dane's groups. Alicia, Murd, everybody. I love all you guys. Holly. Like I said, twice a day we get together, even on Zoom. It doesn't have to necessarily be an AA format, which is awesome. We sing Love Shack, and we have a good time. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be, a meeting format, and I like that. Sometimes that's what I need. So if you just want to hang out and kick it and have fun, talk recovery, but not so formal if you don't want to be. So, like I said, that's my story, sticking to it, and I hope I see you guys on Sober James.
Gina, I don't know if you can see it, but I have a picture here of your, tell us how old Isaac is.
He's a year old, little over a year old.
And I hear on the screen, you'll get to see it later, but you sent me a picture of Isaac watching Sober James on the TV. And I will, when he starts to understand English, I wouldn't advise that, because Uncle Sober James says a lot of, not so savory things sometimes. But I'm so humbled and grateful that I can be able to help you, people like you, and that you can help me as well. And I know for a fact there's women out here that are young in sobriety. They are maybe early in their they're just now getting sober. What would you have to tell them as far as their first, I don't know, couple months sober? What did you do to hang on?
I had to reach out. The biggest thing for me was asking phone numbers. If you see somebody on a Zoom meeting, ask, to send them a private message. You have to reach out. You have to connect with people. Go to these Zoom meetings, especially even like I said, I started watching you on my big TV and like cleaning the house. There's so many things that we could do, especially in your sobriety, and take every suggestion. Find women that have years. Find women that have very good sobriety. I surround myself with older women. The only women I associate with that are my age are the women that I went to inpatient with. Get really, and you'll be able to tell, you'll be able to talk to people and tell who's got that sobriety and who you want to click with, and don't click with people who you can walk all over. Pick those intimidating women, the ones that'll probably kick your butt a little bit. Those are the women that you need.
Yeah, I had experience with that as well. I had a problem with authority, and when I was picking sponsors, I tended to pick some that I could just kind of, brush off.
Yeah.
That's our addiction, dictating, resisting help, So did you go to inpatient after jail and all that?
Yeah, but it was years after jail. I didn't go to my first inpatient till about, 3 years ago now. Yeah, because the first rehab I went in very short, came out, went to a sober house, and met Isaac's dad.
What would you so as far as relationships go?
Stay away from men. I'm saying, like, and I know we've had this conversation at least until you get through the steps like 4 times.
So you're saying
You have to learn how
I
to
sh
set boundaries and love yourself and learn about yourself. When we were in addiction, we didn't know anything about ourselves. We didn't. We thought we did. All we knew is that we hurt and we wanted it to go away.
so
I'm learning so much about myself. You know, what do you want? What do you really want? What are you looking for? You know, if you're gonna date a man, or ask questions. What's your biggest flaw? A man can't tell you what his biggest flaw is. I mean, you know, I think to each his own. I'm personally not ready. I thought I was. I'm not.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
know.
okay. I don't have time. I got a 1-year-old.
Well, at least you got an adorable, beautiful baby out of it. You know,
That's right.
it's not all bad.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I tended to rush into, you know, I wanted love and support when I was getting clean too. I mean, that seems like the most common thing for people to do is like rush into romantic relationships.
One for another.
Yeah.
Trying to get the dopamines back up any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and it's natural. It's probably one of the most common, you know, mistakes that a human being can make.
Sure.
Even non-addicts, you know, just try to replace what they actually need with what they want, you know.
Yeah, right, right. And we confuse the two as well.
Now, do you have are you in a program? I think you're in AA, right? Do you have
Yeah, I participate in AA.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Do you sponsor any young ladies, or are you sponsored?
I don't. I sponsored a lady for a little bit, but it didn't kind of work out. But I'm willing. I'm definitely willing to.
Yeah, well, that's good because I know there's some ladies on, well, you know, on Discord and around here, and we're always getting new people, and it's like you said, women stick with women and men stick with men.
Yeah, that's another thing I would definitely recommend as far as relationships, or if you're tempted or if you're lonely, stick with women's meetings only. Don't even tempt yourself.
Yeah, we're vulnerable. I mean, even us, you know, big strong men are just alcohol and drugs turned me into you know, just a little boy that wanted to curl up in fetal position, and you know what I mean. So like I was ready.
Right.
You know, I was ready for hugs and kisses and all that.
Right.
We're
And
vulnerable.
the broken can't fix the broken either.
Or yeah, our pickers are broken and all that. Have you ever heard that saying?
Yeah.
We don't know how to pick people, and we don't know what we're attracting. I had to learn all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. I'm learning that every day. Every day.
Well, I thank you for your experience, strength, and hope, Gina.
Thank you.
I know I'm gonna remember things I wanted to ask you. Does anybody in the chat have any? Well, actually, you know what? We could possibly open this Zoom meeting up. I could post the link. I don't know if it's clickable. Does anybody in the chat have any questions for Gina? You said Isaac's a year and a half?
No, he's a year. He turned a year in March.
That's cool. I bet you got your hands full.
Oh, he is. He's a joy.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Well, I tell you what, I will before we close, before you know you get out of here, I'll just post this Zoom link for this meeting on Discord at least, and
Okay, cool.
so anybody who's listening right now, I'm gonna post this Zoom link in Discord, so Feel free to jump on in if you want. If you're brave enough to come on. By the way, Gina, I totally apologize for the what do you call that? Negligence on my part as far as not getting your sound in right away.
Oh no, that's fine. No, that's not a big deal at all.
I could.
I mean, it would be different if you said it like just now, then I kind of be.
Yeah, I didn't know. I did my best. I mean, that's all we can do. But I'm totally sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
I'm just gonna post this, and there's Merc. Merc might want to join us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still getting the hang of all this, even though but sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Do you read the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, Gina?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that book's crazy. Crazy profound.
You know what I love about that book? And I think I mentioned this the other day. Every time I reread it, I use a different highlighter because there's always something new that I learn every single time.
Right. It's like watching a movie as you grow.
Yeah.
You see different stuff every time.
Yep. Or like hearing a song that you had one meaning for, and then years later in a different situation, it can take on a whole new meaning.
Right on. Me and Polly were. This is we were talking earlier, but it's pretty nice how this community has been growing. I love that we have a recovery place to meet, and because have you ever noticed this that I can't really relate to people that aren't addicts and alcoholics. Like I don't get uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not like helpless out there, but have you ever noticed that like when you're not talking to someone that's not in recovery, it's almost like you want to get back to your people? Because I do that all the time.
No, I totally understand that. Yeah.
That's why I love hanging out around here.
Yeah, I do too. Like I was out at the store today and I was like, shit, I'm missing the noon live stream.
I'm just so glad I'm able to help, and I get stuff out of this too when I'm not struggling to get it to work. Like I absolutely love it when I just have an impromptu live stream and we just get on here or on Discord.
Yeah.
and just kind of talk and bullshit. It's like really, I don't know, therapeutic.
It is. I totally agree with you. I look forward to them every day.
Ida Kennedy says, I really enjoyed your message. Thank you.
Cool.
I don't know if you can see the texts and stuff.
No.
Well, I'll let you get going. Maybe you can get off of here and jump on the YouTube chat feed and talk to some people. But they're all saying thank you, and Alicia's on there and stuff. So
oh, cool.
I personally thank you, and again, I apologize for the clunky way of doing this. But thank you very much for being patient and.
All right, cool. Well, thanks so much again. I appreciate it, James, and I will see you in the cord.
All right, I'll see you, Gina.
All right, bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.